Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your moderator, chairman, and executive chef of Kei Concepts, Viet Nguyen.
I almost bust out some Michael Jackson moves, moonwalk into that song. But good morning, everybody. All right, so one of Kei Concept mission is not just to make food. We're not just in the food and beverage industry. We're actually in different forms of art. We started out with culinary art. We love live performance, so we're in performance art. But we also in liberal art. So we invest into these different platforms, and hopefully that we can bring great talent from all over the world to Little Saigon. That's one of our biggest missions. But so within this journey that we actually reach out, our great friend, Chị Kiều Linh, who's actually in the audience today, randomly text me and say, hey, do you want to cater some sweets for Michelle Phan? I was like, the Michelle Phan? She's like, the Michelle Phan. So of course I said yes, being a subscriber of hers, aka fanboy. I know some of you look very puzzled right now. Why are you watching makeup videos? Well, first of all, it's none of your business. Secondly, why not? She was one of the first YouTuber that broke 1 million subscriber, a women YouTuber that broke 1 million subscriber. And she's Vietnamese. Of course I have to subscribe to her, follow her journey. That wonderful event, Michelle and our team really connected, and we felt, what if we can bring her back to Little Saigon to spread her brilliant mind with all of us? And so that's what we did. We reached out, and she gracefully accepted our invitation. So thanks so much for Michelle and her team. So this guy actually has sold over 1,000 franchises all over the world, internationally. Brought some of the F&B group into IPO, and investing, advising, creating blockchain, Web3 technology, and also the largest franchisee of the Halal Guys. You might know him. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Paul Tran.
Is this on? Is this on? Oh, God. You should be my hype man everywhere I go. Glad to be here. I'm a big fan of Vid and Ivy and everything that they do. And I'm also a big personal development junkie. So when I heard Vid and Ivy's vision to produce TED Talk-like events, but catered towards and amplifying the Asian American leadership community, I had to say yes, and at 2 a.m. in the morning. So just glad to be here. I'm looking forward to just having a fun, inspiring time with you guys.
All right, so that's Paul. He is married and taken. I'm sorry. But here, so now this is my honor to introduce Iviha, my friend, my partner, love of my life. Her leadership has been instrumental to the success of Kei Concepts. She's only committed to the growth of the company, but to the development of all of the employees. Now, Kei Concept would not be where it is today without her leadership. So she's a true example of women in leadership, and this is her story.
Hi, my name is Iviha. I am the CEO and founders of Kei Concepts. At age 21, I came to the US to pursue my bachelor degree in finance. Between 2016 and 17, that's when we started Pango, now became Vox, and Soup Noodle Bars. In 2017, I gave birth to Kira. That's when I have an idea to actually establish a headquarters for Kei Concepts. So we named it Kei Concepts after Kira, my daughter. We started with a small office with only 3 employees. We work in multiple departments at the same time, HR, accounting, operation, even marketing. One of the most challenging moments for me was during the pandemic. when I have to figure out not to give up when everyone else around is giving up. During the pandemic, nobody really wanted to go back to work. And my job is to have to maintain the operation at the restaurant. That's when Kei Concepts started bringing new benefits for the employee, including paid time off and full health benefit to provide them safety at work. When I think of Kei Concepts right now, it's hard not to feel grateful. Today we have 600 employees across 11 locations, a headquarters with 7 departments and more to come. I have a very clear vision of the world that I would like to live in. I imagine that world where the vast majority of everyone wake up feeling inspired every day, feel safe at work, and feel fulfilling at home at the end of the day. I want to build that community for Kei generation to grow up in. For me, success means leaving behind a legacy that makes a lasting difference.
So if you guys have been using YouTube to get entertained or to look more beautiful or just to just get inspiration, just overall better your life, Michelle Phan needs no introduction. What I love about Michelle is that she actually used the platform before it was popular, before it was like a no-brainer choice to express yourself, create art, build a successful business, and help as many people as possible. So for those who don't know Michelle, this is a short video that she prepared for you guys. So.
Hello there, I'm Michelle Phan, and many of you might think that I'm just a makeup artist and YouTuber, but the truth is, I'm actually a digital creator, business owner, and investor. Most people think I got my start on YouTube, but it was much earlier than that. It was in 2003, and it was a blog under the username Rice Bunny. Even though it was something I was doing for fun, I was inspired to just get better at it. I enjoyed making the content. I enjoyed writing and taking photos and interacting with my audience. But you know, my blog was just my passion project. I still had to figure out my career. What am I going to do for my future? What college am I going to? I have to make money, because back then people were not really making that much money with their blogs. It was still very, very early. So of course I did what I was told. I went to college, I got student loans, and I started racking up a lot of debt, but it was fine. I was still enjoying college. But then the 2008 crash happened, and that kind of changed everything, because I saw people who were seniors and they graduated, they weren't getting hired, and they were drowning in hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And I was thinking to myself, I need to figure something out for myself. And it just dawned on me. It was YouTube. I went from my blog where I was writing and taking photos to now filming content, makeup tutorials. And it was just a new way for me to, again, like, express myself, right? I started from 10,000 subscribers to 100,000, eventually 500,000, and then the million mark was insane. I think at that time I was the first woman to reach 1 million subscribers on YouTube. So it was massive, it was life-changing, and I paid off my entire student loan debt just from the money I was making from YouTube alone. So in a way, becoming a content creator helped me pay off my debts. I mean, who would have thought? In a way, that's the new American dream, right? So I was ready to take it to the next step, from content creation to business. Keep in mind, I've never taken a single business class, but I was hungry to learn and eager to try. So I experimented with a few businesses. Most of them were flops, but I learned a lot from them, and I applied what I learned from them to the next business and the next one until I got better partners and people who understood, and I learned from them. And eventually I had my big break. One of my businesses was worth over $1 billion, and that just put me on the map. I was on the front cover of Forbes and all these other amazing magazines, and people started seeing me differently. They didn't see me as only a YouTuber. I was now a YouTuber and a business owner, because at the time, being seen as a YouTuber was not as cool. I mean, today, most people want to be an online creator. I mean, this is like the best job, which I can tell you from my point of view, it really is amazing. Doing what I love has allowed me to turn my storytelling into a business, from student, creator to entrepreneur. I believe there's a way to leverage your talent and turn it into a successful business. If you are seeking to find personal fulfillment like me, then you came to the right place.
Ivy Ha and Michelle Phan.
Turn down the lights. I got a feeling I'm gonna be alright, okay, alright. It's about damn time. Turn up the music. Let's celebrate. I got a feeling I'm gonna be okay, alright.
So Viet and I and the team, we wanted to come up with questions that covered areas that aren't easily found online, because if anyone wants to find a little more information, there's no shortage of information about Kei Concepts and also all the work that you do as well. So these questions are just trying to go a little more deeper and just tease out some things that I think will be helpful to the audience, okay? So you mentioned that there were a couple of businesses and investments that didn't pan out. There's also incredible businesses that you did get into. Do you have a process for how you decide what businesses to get into, which ones to get out of, which ones to flat out say no? Are there people you talk to, questions you ask yourself? Love to hear about that.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of the businesses that I found success through, it was because these were products, these were ideas, and these were companies that I found myself interested in as a customer. Like this was like way back early when Amazon stocks was a thing. It was still early, and I told myself, I shop on Amazon all the time. Let me buy some Amazon stocks. Same thing too with even like Ipsy. This was a concept that I created because it was something that I wanted myself as a consumer. So I always recommend to people, like, put yourself in the shoes of a consumer. This was actually what Steve Jobs did when he was creating a lot of Apple products. Was he didn't have he didn't do like a studies where he would get case studies from people seeing what they wanted. He was creating things that he wanted for himself because he was a great curator in a way. To me, like, Steve Jobs was the ultimate influencer. If you looked at his home, his car that he owned, his favorite cameras, they were all beautiful, and it was a reflection of who he was. So I think for me, I like to put myself in the shoes of a consumer and ask myself, would I buy this? Would I try this? Is this something that I see myself loving? And I think that's a nice key indicator of at least the right direction to take when you are bombarded with a lot of these shiny objects like you were mentioning.
Got it.
For me, it's important that you have to be really passionate about what you do first. Passion is the first thing. And the second thing, you should do research and business analysis just to really know if your passion makes any business sense. That's the second thing I would do.
All right, so that would lead into the second question, actually. So can you tell me about a time when a business deal, investment deal that taught you lessons that made you a better entrepreneur? Or is there a deal that seemed really bad at first to other people, but ended up being one of the best thing ever within your, I would say, experience?
Okay. I choose to talk about a failure.
Okay.
So one of the biggest failures in my career was Pango, which everyone know about Fox Kitchen today. It's Fox Kitchen today.
Yeah.
If your partner don't believe in what you believe, then the partnership wouldn't work. All the time that we spend on resolving internal conflicts should have been spent on improving the business. After Pango, I always remember this. The goal is not to do business with who need what you have. The goal is to do business with those who believe in what you believe.
Okay.
And I think it's very important.
I'd say for me, when it comes to the failure part, I know I should be looking at you guys if I want to.
No,
That's cool.
that's fine. Yeah.
But I think when it comes to the failure part, some of my early businesses, that I started. I think this was back in like 2008, so really early on. I wanted to launch a skincare brand, so I found a business partner in Thailand who had, he came from money, and so he invested in the company, but I had to do a lot of the work. I was doing the marketing, I was designing the website, I had to learn how to build a website, I had to learn the CRM. This was before Shopify, so there was this product called Magento, which is basically like a light Shopify. I had to learn how to like create packaging. So it was a lot of me wearing hats and learning. But something I wasn't good at was operating. I was awful at it because I think I'm more of a creative person. And so I think that was one of the reasons why the brand didn't do so well was I wasn't the most organized operator. And so oftentimes sometimes you have to go through these experiences and fail to learn, to figure out what you're bad at. And that doesn't necessarily mean you can't do it. It just means, hey, like you might need to find someone else who can fill this role so that you can focus what you're good at. Or maybe now that you know you're bad at this, maybe are you inspired or do you want to learn how to become better at it? So I think everyone's different. I think it's very personal, but I know for me, operating is not my strongest suit. And moving forward, I decided to find the right operators. And now I work with some of the best operators who are good. Not only are they good at it, they love it. So they love spreadsheets, they love all that stuff. Like I don't like, when I open spreadsheets, like what is this? Like, can everyone just use Notion? Like I'm not a huge fan of spreadsheets because I'm a very visual person. But there's people who love that and they enjoy doing it and they're great at that. So I think early on when you're starting off in your businesses, it's kind of nice to kind of get a sense of what you're good at in the beginning. So that was one of my failures. Actually, it was early on with Ipsy, we weren't doing that well. And the reason why was because this was in 2011, so very early. Subscription businesses was still very new in a way. Like it's not that new. Like subscription's been around for a long time, probably like hundreds of years. But I think in this case, what we were doing with beauty, kind of like being the Netflix of makeup and skincare, the problem was that at that time we had another competitor, which was Birchbox. And they already had 1 million subscribers. They were way ahead. They locked in all the brand deals. And we only had, I think, 1.6 million in angel seed funding, so we didn't have any money. So we decided to start building brand relationships with beauty brands, and we educated them on influencers, on YouTubers. And this was before influencer marketing was a thing. We were showing them like, hey, instead of paying all this money being in magazines and being in TV commercials, work with us and we can get your products into the hands of beauty influencers and creators. And the brand's like, sure, why not? Here you go. And because we were able to pay for some of the products and samples, a lot of the customers, they saw how our product was better than our competitor, Birchbox at the time. They saw that not only were we getting better quality products, but we were also marketing it better using creators. And again, like I mentioned, this was in 2011, 2012. So that gave us that competitive edge because we were essentially giving out a better product. People are paying the same exact money for it, $10 for Birchbox or $10 for Ipsy. I'm gonna do Ipsy because they're giving Urban Decay products. They're giving like these really cool brands. So early on, I guess in a way, like a lot of people didn't believe that this would be a thing because they saw Birchbox was so much bigger, they had more money, they were already established a year in. And so a lot of people thought like I would fail, basically. And they kind of rooted for that, which is kind of weird, which we could talk about later about how I think this will be an interesting topic later on, how like I feel like there is this competitiveness within like Asian communities. So I felt and I saw how a lot of people who were leaving comments about how they were thinking it's going to fail, they were people who were Asian. So it made me sad and disheartened, but it also inspired me to prove them wrong. And I'm so glad that, they were proven wrong because it shows that if you have a good product, the right team, and you have a competitive edge, you can get ahead. So that was an example of something that a lot of people, even me, at one point I thought, oh man, like after the second month, like, we have to close shop. But because we made the right decision and we invested in better products, it paid off.
I see. So you actually morphed the business model just a touch, right? To kind of like fit with, we'll say, 5 market product fit for that specific market.
Yeah.
So I think you have the same experience with that with Gem and Nip, right? Same thing. I mean, you opened Gem. I mean, it did not work out for a while. But we thought it was a failure. So talk to us a little bit about Nape 2. So how did that open, and that kind of like survived the whole scene?
We opened Nep during the pandemic. Interesting. So at that time, during the pandemic, nobody actually wanted to go to Jam, like, you know, a fine casual dining restaurant. But then Nep worked out just because it brings a touch of Vietnam coffee to Little Saigon right in time that they needed it the most.
So in hindsight, now it is one of the best decisions that we've ever made. But at that time, I thought it was a failure.
We just try, you know. We just try as much as we can. And then we try our best and try so many things. If it doesn't work out, then we try again.
So just making the right decision at the right time.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the advice. Right.
In addition, it's also not giving up, and it's always just it's always like persistence that actually plays out. You can make a ton of bad decisions, but if you're just hanging in there longer than the other guy, that's all it takes. So
that's true.
Those
It's
are great
true.
answers. A question I have is, one of the things I love about your YouTube channel is that you're really generous with giving helpful advice to help people look and feel beautiful and also start their own businesses. At the same time, there's also a flood of information out there. A lot of it's bad advice. And so I wanted to know if there's a piece of bad advice that you hear being shared often. Either it's bad or it's taken out of context. Like for me, for example, I hate the phrase fail often and fail fast and fail forward, because it forces people it gives people the agency to like be sloppy or not do research. So I just want to know if there's any bad advice that you hear that you super disagree with, and would love to hear that.
Being spread all over the place, right?
What was it?
It's just being spread all over the place, like just bad advice.
I think the biggest one for me was do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Like I remember hearing that and I'm like, I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to go to art school. And then I realized even when I was in I was in art school and I had to do all these assignments and paint and draw, which sounds fun, but after like doing like 100 different paintings, you start hating what you love eventually. And I think that does translate even to the working world. If you really do what you love, you end up sometimes hating what you love. And so something I've adapted and I've learned now is you have to love what you do, not do what you love. If you love what you do more, you will work harder because you love working. And just to piggyback off of what you mentioned, like that's really how you can have a more sustainable career, is really truly loving the work because you love what you do. And if you can last long in this space, because in the business world, it's all about a race. Everyone's racing to get an exit or to make this number so they can go IPO or get bought out or become the biggest. But there was a Japanese economist, I forgot his name, but he did a very interesting case study, and he's very old too, so he did also like a long lecture on even the internet back in the 90s. But he did one recently about how a lot of businesses and brands don't last long today. So to give you an example, McDonald's has been around for a very long time, Nike, all of these legacy brands have lasted for a long time, but we're seeing now in this digital age, a lot of these brands don't last long. I'd give it like 10, 20 years. And so people are trying to exit at the right time. And so I feel like as digital becomes more digital and we move more into this space, I can actually see that a lot of brands might not last that long, but it doesn't mean you can't have a business. It just means you have to make the right strategic investments and know when to exit, which is really important because sometimes certain trends don't last long. So I don't know if y'all remember the flash sales. Remember flash sales was a popular thing back then, like Haute Look. There was another one, but a flash sale, this was 2010. Basically, you're presented like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a cool brand. Like Hugo Boss is going to have a flash sale on Haute Look. And so they show you what you could potentially buy and how much the discount is. And on the day of, they launch, they open the website so you can buy everything. And it's literally a sale that's fast. And so everyone was betting on this business model, thinking this is the future, this is how people are going to shop. But sure enough, flash sales, I mean, where is it now? No one does it anymore. And so it's good to know as an investor, even as a founder, if you are going to do a business model or have some sort of revenue model where it is trendy, just know when to launch it and when to sell or when to exit. if you're chasing after like trendy business models, just be mindful because it doesn't last long, is what I'm trying to say. So I hope that answered the question.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure it did. So those are one of the worst advice that
Yeah, so
that flying around.
oh,
to be
also,
honest.
if you build, they'll come. That's not
Yeah.
necessarily true, and I think
No.
Web3 and NFT showed us that. A lot of people were building like, oh, we're the decentralized Amazon, or we're the Web3 of YouTube, but it's like you're building all this stuff. Like you're building this house in the middle of a cornfield. No one's gonna go to it. And so we see that a lot in this space where people have a great idea, but they don't do market research. They don't put themselves in the shoes of a consumer, or maybe they're a little too delusional. They actually think this is what people want. So I think it's really important to like take time to really study the market, study trends, and study cycles. That's really important too, because if you study cycles, then you know like, okay, in this age, we're gonna need something like this. So hopefully that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
We should nerd out about that one day. But
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, we will.
Absolutely.
To me, bad advice, people hear all the time, when one door is closed, another one open. I know this one keep people hope, but to me, it's kind of put me in a passive mode, where I just sit there waiting for the next opportunity. Why I should just figure out why the first door closed first, right? And go open the second door yourself.
All right, so analyzing.
Yeah, analyze the
Close that.
situation first, understand it. I mean, back to Pango and Vox. Yeah, when Pango was closed, remember when we discussed the situation where should we just, just end it, call it
Yeah.
a day, or change it to another concepts. And then we discussed so many days, we didn't have enough money, so we decided to take a loan and turn into Vox. But the biggest decision is to end the partnership, the previous partners.
Got it. So you
And
have
then
to
that's the
have
reason
closure.
why Pango fell. We realized that.
Got it. I mean, we did go back and analyze it and
Exactly.
understood exactly, and as
The
you say,
concepts, the partners, everything was
Exactly.
wrong. So we did
but
it.
to your point too, if you love what you do, and you have the right partner, you will overcome all of those obstacles. So,
Yeah,
so
agree.
great questions. All right, so the next question that we have for you would be, even though all entrepreneurs struggle, male or female, but there's some bias that you have to deal with quite often as you grow, as you know. And can you share how you overcome or are overcoming it as first a woman, and then there's a minority? Or stereotype bias.
The one thing that I hear all the time is when people look at Kei Concepts and they think that he does everything.
Most things. Just kidding. But that's a big stereotype. There's a big bias, and she can explain it.
I mean, I like to be in the background. It doesn't mean that I don't do anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think for me it's annoying, of course, but I choose to ignore all the noises. I just want to invest my time on what I do best and what important for the business.
Yeah, and we talked often about me being the visionary, but I actually don't. I'm a horrible I'm a horrible operator, and so bringing her on as an operator, and she's an excellent operator.
I mean, I was new to the restaurant industry, also business. Michelle mentioned that you didn't know anything about business. You have to learn everything yourself. I think it's applied to me too. I didn't really know anything about running a business. What we learned from school was just like, finance, accounting class, business management. It didn't really apply to real life. When I came on board with Super Bar, I tried to learn everything. I didn't even know the difference between, full service restaurant and a quick service restaurant, I'm not familiar with that. So I learned little things from little to little. I learned how to do certain things, busing, serving, running business system, establishing tip system, accounting, learning HR, everything at the same time. And by learning little to little, I realized that's nothing that I cannot do.
Yeah, if
I
you
had
really
to push
put your mind
myself
to it.
out of my comfort zone first.
And how did you figure out that being an operator is loving what you do? Like, what about operating that really intrigues you?
It's like playing a puzzle. It's like you look at a mess, you don't know what to do, but you have to look at it really closely. You analyze it, and you have a plan. So, yeah, planning, strategic planning.
She's an SOP monster, by the way. Like everything SOP, everything. So
That's what I
same
do
question
every day.
applied to you, obviously. A lot of biases out there.
The biggest bias was my lack of the education that a lot of these people saw. Was they just, you know, I think there's a lot of privilege and a lot of privilege and entitlement. It just feels like, oh, I have this degree, I've spent this much money on it, so I'm smarter than you. It's like, no, dude, the world has changed. The world has totally changed. People are learning so much now online. Someone who has a fancy degree in the States versus someone in Vietnam who doesn't have that fancy degree, but they know the same stuff. They're operating on the same level. I think the world is changing, and that's why I'm a believer in, like, people will project their biases onto you, but it's your job to put the shield up and just know that they're just projecting their own insecurities onto you, and just, you know, just give them love, you know, like, don't like fight them. Just let it pass, and just know, keep it in the back of your head. Like, you should start remembering the people who believed in you and the people who didn't, because those who believe in you, you want to keep them with you on the journey. And those who didn't, you know, just tuck it back and just keep moving forward and lovingly distance yourself from them.
Yeah.
So to translate that, whoever that gives you biases or hates you, they need the most love. They need the hug. They do need a hug. You've been through and you've seen all of this. Have you seen the improvement in the society toward female, toward minorities?
I don't know if it's improvement or there's guilt, where it's like, oh, like, yeah, let's give the Asian girl, you know, token Asian girl this or that. You know, it's fine. At least it is progress, because I think awareness is so important. The fact that there's a group of people who are aware that they are privileged, and maybe they do feel pressure to cater to the minorities. I'm okay with that, because at least it builds awareness. And maybe let's hope the next generation, they grow up with more compassion, more empathy, and more understanding. And I do believe, I have so much faith in the young generation, like Gen Alpha and them, who are growing up with so much. Like, they grow up with the whole world at their fingertips. And so they're not as scared as, like, the previous generation. I feel like our parents' generation, and even, like, not being Asian, but I know a lot of people who aren't Asian, and their parents, right, they come from, like, Gen X and baby boomers. Their world is so small compared to, like, our generation and the new generation. The world is so big, and they're so connected to it. So I think I have a lot of faith, and I don't know, like, I don't know how you feel about that, but
Me too.
Yeah.
I just hope that we can be an inspiration for them too.
I think so.
To Gen Z, right?
To Gen Z, I mean, even, like, the older generation, like, I think a lot of them are scared. They grew up with so much programmed TV and news, and so they literally are programmed. Their brain is programmed to think this is how the world is. We're fortunate enough where I'm assuming a lot of y'all are millennials and younger, but we grew up with a lot of user-generated content. So we grew up with content that comes from real people, not programmed. And I'm hoping that, and I am seeing the improvement that I'm seeing more people are just becoming more aware, and they're thinking differently than the previous generation, which does give me hope. And I am seeing the changes.
It is a little bit, right? And then so obviously in your office, and that's what we see too when I go to the office sometimes, you know, almost 80% of your workforce at the office on the highest level and executive level is actually women. So talk to us a little bit about that. Did you see the change, or did you actively go create that environment?
As long as you give them the opportunities for them to prove, you train them, you invest in them, they see that, they strive, and they get inspired, and they, you know,
So you actively
develop.
go create that environment yourself?
I create that environment. I encourage everyone to try, get better, take the opportunity. Sometimes they're scared. I tell them, let's just do it. Don't worry.
I see.
I got you.
And it would be the same for you, right? I mean, you create an environment where female leaders can actually approach you or doing these kind of amazing things around you.
No, I love the fact that you're ignoring, you know, they're just one signal, right? And this actually is a question that is about changing the changing of the times. A lot of the questions we have are mindset based, but this one's more tactical. You being, you know, a beauty and content creator, and also for you being a restaurant enterprise, is there an investment in, like, a certain type of technology or an app or a service that you've recently made an investment in that like has been a game changer for you, or you can't stop raving about it?
Yes, YouTube Premium, pay for it. The reason why it's because the algorithm changes, and you know how like a lot of people are addicted to TikTok? It's because the algorithm is literally engineered to make you addicted to it, and it shows you content you want to watch. So if you don't have YouTube Premium, it's just showing you content where it can make money. Because I think like less than 10% of all the content on YouTube is monetizable. And YouTube spends a lot of money paying for the data servers, right? So if you're not paying for YouTube, they push all the other content that has all these long ads. But if you pay for YouTube Premium, which I think it's worth it, you will start discovering content that's made by smaller creators where it's more niche, but it's stuff that you want to watch. And so I've been for the longest time avoiding paying for YouTube Premium because I got salty that they didn't give it to me for free. It's my entitlement. It's my entitlement. I'm like, bitch, you should be giving this to me for free. I'm not gonna pay $15 a month for this. But then like a bunch of my friends were just telling me, Michelle, you're cheap ass. Like just pay for it, dude. Like you're paying for like a $100 dinner here. Like just pay for this. And so I ended up biting the bullet. And I think what was game changer is, one is the algorithm. Two, you can, I don't know how many of you guys have YouTube Premium, but like you can play the video while your screen is off. And so it's actually, I unsubscribed to Spotify because I have more music options on YouTube Premium because you have all the copyrighted stuff that no one cares about, right? They don't claim it. So I have all the cool remixes and stuff. And I was actually able to discover so many amazing creators because of YouTube Premium. So that's one. I would say two is Midjourney. Midjourney, and this is controversial because I know there's a lot of artists, maybe there's a lot of artists here in the audience where they feel like AI art is destroying the art community. But how I use Midjourney, which is generative AI, is I use it for concepting. So if I'm designing like makeup brushes or I'm designing like an ad copy, I use Midjourney to give me ideas. It's actually better using Midjourney, using AI stuff to generate a lot of different concepts, hundreds of concepts, instead of just going to one person. And then once I have a strong concept, I bring it to an artist. Or I don't know if you guys have tried OpenAI, ChatGPT. Has anyone tried it here in this room? Yeah, it's amazing. And the new one that's coming out is supposed to be even crazier, but NVIDIA is launching theirs soon too, which I heard is 100 times more powerful. So there's gonna be so many great AI tools at our disposal, and I think it is going to change the world. I know a lot of people are scared. They're like, oh, it's gonna replace our jobs and everything, but this is why I've been telling people for years, get interested in crypto, get interested in Bitcoin, get interested in the new monetary system, and get interested in AI, because this is going to, we're seeing like this is going to be the next new revolution of what we had previously, which was the internet. And before the internet was television, before television was the printing press. And so the means of information and knowledge, as it becomes more and more accessible to the everyday person, the world changes along with it. And so if you want to stay ahead, just make sure to stay curious and just try and play around with some of these new tools. So Midjourney, OpenAI, any of the new AI tools, and YouTube Premium.
All right.
I guarantee you will unsubscribe to Spotify.
Everybody's going to go
Sorry,
on
Meta.
Bing today, right?
Actually, there's
That's
a,
free.
I can't remember where this article came from, but they said that when Andy Warhol came out with the Campbell soup cans, they said that's not real art. Right? And then later on, people started messing with Adobe Photoshop, and they're like, that's not real art.
Yeah.
And then now they're talking about AI, and they're saying that it's not real art. So
Yeah.
I'd like to say that the status quo tends to be pretty wrong, or at least irrelevant after a certain amount of time.
Absolutely.
So, love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So same with you, same questions. You know,
Any
what
cool
is
tool-
the
any cool
piece of
tools?
technology that
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
transformed you?
This is the discovery of like a sophisticated project management platform that allowed me to improve the operation of the company. It's called Mondaycom. Everyone, I'm not sure that everyone's familiar with that. Paul, are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
What's it called? Monday.com.
Monday.com.
Yeah,
Monday.com.
Monday.com.
It's great
Are they
name.
sponsored?
It's kind of like,
crazy,
well, they're
yeah.
not sponsoring, but like it's a very interesting topic, and we talked about this all the time. So it's essentially, it's a software as a operating system in a sort. So it's not a separate software, but it's an operating system that she built. Within that, then you would be API with a lot of
Yeah.
different platforms like Dropbox, Google, you name it. And so from there, you can practically write on software without knowing how to code. So talk to us a little bit about that, how that streamlined from field operations all the way to your executive suite, your C-suite?
Well, running Key Concepts, I think before I realized that the biggest hardship was how to communicate with people across the company, from department to department, from the office to the field, because we have a lot of managers who work in the restaurant. We don't know how to communicate with them. And thanks to Monday, I actually built a workflow where we can manage the manager, where we can actually list down like, hey, this is the step that I want. Let's say when you start at Key Concepts, and I train you and say, hey, Paul, you new here, this is your workspace. It's like a portal. When you sign, you see what I want you to see. And Paul, I want you to post your daily agenda, weekly agenda on here. If you need to submit for the payroll, this is the link, and then like this is HR, this is how you submit for hiring. And that's a lot of back-end process where I work with my team to build it. So for the manager, when they come in, if they need to do something, they just need to look at the instruction and everything is there for them.
And this is like a SOP builder, right?
It's an SOP builder, and it's just a blank platform. They have many features. You have to explore it.
Yeah,
you have to
it's
build
like,
from scratch.
that you see a lot of different area that we work in, even, so restaurants too, we have constructions, marketing and all of that. So it actually applies to a wide range of different sectors in the economy, right? We see huge companies that are using that. Even Tesla at one point is using that. So talk to us a little bit about how that now transform your workflow to a point where sometimes it's kind of like slowing down you a little bit, but then now you actually exploring with AI and ChatGPT to kind of improve some part of the obstacle. So talk to us a little bit about ChatGPT and how that kind of.
I just try it out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very helpful. Like when I really want to research something and I want to confirm if it's right, I go to ChatGPT and I ask, hey, recently we have a lot of discussion back and forth between employee break for the employees, and we're not too sure if something we think is right. We read the book, we read everything, but there's no like a confirmed source. I went to the lawyer, I asked them, and I say, why don't we just test ChatGPT to see if it understands or tell us the same thing as a lawyer said. And I actually typed the question, and it actually answered the same thing as a lawyer.
As close to it. Obviously, it's not all true.
I mean, I don't advise anyone to take it as a legal advice.
Yes.
I try it out. I test it.
Yes. But, I mean, obviously, it's also very transformative, as you say. AI is going to be the next frontier if we're not getting in it right now to understand it, at least. I think we're always going to be behind. So, for sure. Right, so next question is for me. So is there a regular morning, daily, weekly, quarterly, yearly routine that really helps you to in your best state, not just physical, but also mentally, stack early wins, or to help you avoid burnout? I think a lot of people don't mention too much about mental health, especially with high executives. So how are you avoiding burnout? What is your daily or weekly or monthly routine that can help you with that?
Well, I need to improve that, but my regular routine right now is to spend time with my daughter at nighttime and the weekends. I try to take her to classes over the weekend, so I can spend a little bit of time with her. I think it's helped me a lot to separate between professional life and family. Yeah,
So
it's
you
not much that I
separate.
do that. I don't have much time, to be honest. The restaurant opens 7 days a week. We really don't have time. We have to be on call all the time, So whenever I can, I will.
I see. So family time is your essentially your
Yes.
escape
Yes,
out of everything. So you're separating work and life,
work and professional.
finding that balance. How about you?
Ooh, I would say it was last year that was game changer for me. I learned a very unique breathwork that actually was able to get me to meditate longer than 5 minutes, because I can't last more than 5 minutes when I meditate. I'm like, I'm so bored, I can't do this. So this breathwork was taught to me by this ascended master. It's 6 breath. And so how you do it is like you inhale, you exhale like this, you inhale, you exhale like this. So you do that like 6 times, and on the 6th breath, what you want to do is when you inhale, you put all your head back like this. So the back of your head is as far back as you can. You hold your breath, you squeeze your stomach, almost as if you're squeezing your insides. Hold it hold it maybe like 6 seconds longer as long as you can, and then once you release, it's like the craziest head high you will ever get. And so doing this breath work really helped me reset and turned off that mode where I can go into a relaxing mode. Because where you get the best ideas and epiphanies is during alpha state of mind, where you're in a meditative state of mind, and also gamma. Gamma state of mind is the highest frequency of your brain waves, and this is where you get a lot of epiphanies, ahas, bliss. And so doing this breath work really helped me get more into an altered state of consciousness where I'm literally like receiving ideas. I know it sounds crazy, but, and I know other people who are entrepreneurs who do this, and they get downloads. We don't know where it's coming from. Maybe it's within, maybe it's somewhere else, but a lot of people receive information and downloads where they are able to seek the answers that they're finding, and they're able to apply that in their life. So it was kind of game changer for me doing this.
I think it's like that thing where they say, like, for your iPhone, like, you only use like maybe 10% of its capability. I think it's like our body as well. Like, we only use 10% of our consciousness and our potential. So I feel like that exercise helps unlock a lot more of that.
It does.
Who you are. You're enough. It's just you need to unlock it.
Absolutely, because even with an iPhone, sometimes you have to reset it, like reset it, right? Because it gets too busy. And so when was the last time you resetted your brain, right? So meditation really helps you kind of reset everything, and then you can kind of be in a calmer, more meditative state before you make any decisions. Because something I learned, a lot of mistakes I made in business was because I was being too reactive. I was being too reactive, and a lot of my decisions were too emotional. And so when you do this breath work, when you're in a meditative state, you can make a decision that's more balanced, which I think is the key to success.
I see. Well, that's crazy. Now, that kind of reminds me. So I had a wonderful conversation with, how many of you guys here know what Paris by Night is?
Oh,
All right, there you go. Big
love
fans.
that.
So today, we're actually very honored to have the number one, Miss Nguyen Cao Yung, is actually in the room today.
Whoa.
So she's here. So we had a conversation for a long time about also like state of enlightenment, really getting to that state, and like mental health, and hopefully we can get her on stage here one day to talk about all of this stuff. And really, I think as executives, sometimes we really don't take care of our body as much as we should, and that really, I would say, affect everyone around us. So I think that's great that you kind of mentioned that point. And for Ivy, like when we're home, I mean, she's all about just readings and, I would say listening to TED Talk all the time. Is that kind of sort of your meditation method in a sense, where like it just kind of separate you from the actual work itself? Or how would you kind of like just tune into a TED Talk helps you? Because I know that you do that every day, and I think it's out of habit, but I think that kind of has some great effects, when you started doing it. So talk to us a little bit about your TED Talk time. You actually use about a couple of hours a day, at least, just to kind of listen to it. How does that help you with your mental state?
For TED Talk, I listen to it every morning to start the day. I think it helps a lot because it sets the positive mood for the day. It's also transformed my professional career a lot. It teaches me different perspective. I mean, I'm not a great speaker at all. I hate public speaking.
She's doing fine. She's doing good.
Yes.
A round of applause.
But I love listening to people. I'm a very active listener. I love listening to people. It inspired me a lot. It changed the way I look at leadership.
So
it inspired me to be a better leader.
I see. But that's the morning routine. And I think it's important for us to find out morning routine, something to kind of get you started.
It sets you up for the day.
It sets you up for a successful day. So, well, wonderful, I would say, advice.
You told me multiple times you hate public speaking. So I just want to remind everyone here that you're up here because you care more about making sure people are inspired and helped than your comfort, your comfort level or how people feel. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're making her more uncomfortable.
Okay, no, I'm shifting.
It takes a lot of courage to be here.
Yes.
It takes a lot.
Yes. Courage over confidence. I never like to reduce entrepreneurship or being a leader to one or two things. So my question would be, do you have at least just one takeaway that you'd like to leave with the audience to at least get them started on the journey, or to at least level up what they might be doing right now, or just give them a clear path? Is there like one takeaway that hopefully the audience takes back with them and puts into action? I'd love to hear that.
So I don't know if any of you have heard of Joseph Campbell. He's an incredible American writer, author, philosopher. And what he did was he studied thousands of different stories, mythologies, legends, religions around the world, and essentially created this wonderful formula called the hero's journey. And it's the most noble journey. It's the most important story ever told, which is the story that we all live, which we are living right now. And I find that whenever I'm lost in life, or I feel overwhelmed, or wherever I'm at, I like to refer back to the hero's journey to see where I'm at. So how the hero journey works is that you start off in your known world, like the home. You go off, you're called to an adventure. You go off on your adventure. You come across a lot of obstacles. You struggle. Sometimes you fail. And then you go against the big boss. You slay the big boss, and then you come back home transformed. And so this is a journey that is ubiquitous in every culture. And I love applying it to my life and also my business world, because it gives me a sense of where I'm at. Sometimes we feel like we're a failure if we're in the low part. But if you refer to the hero's journey, it's not that you're in a low part. You're just in a part where maybe your mentor will come, someone will come. Or maybe you have to get ready and rank up before you go against the boss. And so I think it's a wonderful way to keep you grounded on your journey, because I think oftentimes we judge ourselves a lot. We're very hard on ourselves, and we feel like if we're not performing, if we're not here, if we're not successful, because oftentimes people think like you always have to be successful, but that's not true. Like sometimes you have to fail a lot, even though I know you don't like the concept like you have to fail first, which I agree. Don't always try to fail first, but know that failure is part of the story, and it actually makes your story more interesting. Because I don't think it's interesting meeting someone that's always winning. It's like, it's not that, because it's not relatable. It's not realistic either. So I think like the hero's journey is a wonderful blueprint to refer to whenever you feel lost or you feel like you want inspiration. Is look at where you're at, and maybe that can inspire you to look forward and look forward to the next signs, if that makes sense.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think this takes like another 3 hours just to kind of unfold just
Yeah.
that one thing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How about you?
For me, it's simple. It's just don't take no for an answer. Don't let others tell you what you can do and cannot do. You have to believe in yourself first to start something. It's important. Yeah.
All right.
Simple,
Love that.
it's true.
Well, very straightforward. I know it's super serious, and everyone just want to know, what do you guys do for fun? What's your hobby? Things that we don't cover at all, things that people
aren't
wouldn't
like-
know.
Yeah.
What are you enjoying?
Watching K-drama.
Any K-drama fans?
What do you watch?
Woo! Right.
I do a lot of lucid dreaming yoga. I don't know if any of you all know about lucid dreaming. So how many of you here have very vivid dreams? Raise your hand. Vivid dreams, okay. Even though you don't remember your dreams, it doesn't mean you're not dreaming. You are dreaming. There's been studies that shows during REM sleep, your brain activity is the exact same as when you're conscious, when it's like this. So just to give you more context on what I do with lucid dreaming. So I have 3 levels of lucid dreaming that I'm able to do. The first level is being aware of my dream and allowing the dream to happen while being aware that I'm dreaming. So if there's stuff that I don't really like, I can change it. The second level is being able to control the dream, which I can fly, I can like just teleport to another place. I could go to Japan and eat ramen and then just go in space. And the last one is the one that I'm working on right now, which is meditating in the lucid dream, which is really hard because sometimes when you become aware you're dreaming, it's like being in like a video game. You want to just have fun, right? But calming down and meditating in that, and that becomes crazy because once you get to that point, you're able to talk to people in your dreams, and when you talk to people, you're actually talking to yourself, which is really crazy because you can truly ask yourself questions like, hey, am I really happy about this person? And then the dream character you're talking to is telling you the truth because your subconscious world doesn't know lies, it only knows truth. And it's really interesting because you're able to deepen the relationship with yourself when you're in these altered states of consciousness. And so I was able to teach a lot of people how to lucid dream, because everyone thinks, oh, I can't do that. It's like, no, you can do it. It's just you have to practice, like everything in life. But that's something I do for fun. Like sometimes when I go to sleep, I literally go on adventures. Like I will build castles, I will go back in time, and I'm living it. It feels just like this, which is crazy. Like sometimes I feel like life is a longer dream, if that makes sense. And then when you go to sleep, you are entering into this other world that we all enter into, which is the astral world. Some people believe in it, some people don't, but this is what I recommend to a lot of entrepreneurs, is watch a bunch of kid stuff, because this is how you do market research and study. It's also fun to make your inner child happy too, but when you watch a lot of kid stuff, and this is why it's so important to make your inner child happy, because when you do, you stay curious. And the thing is, when you stay curious, because you're a lifelong learner, you will always be excited in a way. You're not gonna just get set in your ways and become a grumpy person, someone who's jaded with life. I think it's so important to keep that inner child alive, but make decisions as an adult. Because that's the thing about kids is, yes, they're beautiful, they're magical, but they're not adults yet. So it's important to use your adult brain to make decisions, but keep that inner child inside of you alive and happy.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Whew.
That was a lot of layers.
I'm so glad
Yeah.
that question was asked, because I feel like that's like the engine that drives everything else that you do.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we found that out.
Yeah.
We're all learning today, so we're learning a lot. So thanks so much for you guys to come onto the stage today.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so our first question is going to be for Michelle, and can I have Christina Reynolds come up to a microphone? Christina Reynolds?
Oh, she's right there.
Can I have a few? Is that okay?
Go for it.
Okay.
That would up to Bishop.
Okay. I'm originally from California, but have for the last 15 years been living in the Midwest, and being one of the very few Asian American women there, and also entrepreneurial minded. My question of advice for you is, how do you stay in that place of feeling driven and purposeful and feeling inspired when it seems like your environment is so anti what you're going after?
That's a great question. I think this is why having community, even if they don't exist in your actual real world, but even online, is so important. Similar to you, I grew up in Florida. I was the only Asian person, and I felt very alienated from the world, and I felt like I wasn't seen, heard, or acknowledged, and it was the internet that finally made me feel seen, heard, and acknowledged. Like I found my community, I found my weirdos I can be friends with online, even though I never met them. So I think there's so many amazing platforms like Discord that you can join, where Discord literally feels like you're hanging out with your friends. You join these rooms and you can communicate with people. So I think community is very important. Even if it's just one friend, that's enough. But also, like, sometimes you don't have to stay motivated all the time. It's almost like people who want to be happy all the time. Like, we're not meant to always be happy. We were meant to experience sadness. We're meant to experience rage. It's part of the whole spectrum of the human experience. So you don't always have to be motivated. There's going to be moments where you don't feel motivated, and it's okay to acknowledge that and feel that way, and in a way, allow yourself to feel that. Allow yourself to almost be lazy. Like, maybe that's a sign your body's telling you, hey, you need to take a break. Maybe go make your inner child happy. Do stuff to make your inner child happy, to motivate you again. But I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to always be on. Like, we need to be on and be like, yeah, we're gonna crush it. It's like, no, that's not realistic at all. Like, honor yourself, honor your feelings, and most importantly, find community that can hold that space for you, even if it's online. If it's online, that's totally fine. But in real life, even better. But online, I think having that connection and having that community where you really feel like you're seen is going to be so pivotal for you to stay in a space where you can be positive, stay positive, and motivated.
There's one more. This is for both of you. How do you guys balance how do you balance that? Because I need to be with my family. That is a huge priority, but I also want to be able to flow when I feel it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But for both of you guys, I'd love to hear.
Or do you want to?
Work-life
I can piggyback.
Okay. I agree with you. It's very difficult to balance. The fact is that you have to accept that we can't balance, and don't afraid to ask for help from family, people around you. I mean, we feel bad when we ask for help, and then we feel bad because we want to spend time with our kids. But it's okay because sometimes the priority it has to be defined by you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think also ask yourself, this was something I taught in my creator course, but you want to make a list to do a T-chart, love and fear. Ask yourself, how many decisions are you making a day that comes from love versus fear, and what does that look like? And what's really revealing is this was a year ago when I made my T-chart, a lot of my decisions came from fear. It came from fear, it came from guilt, it came from shame. I felt like I had to hang out with people because I was scared that they wouldn't like me, or I would feel guilty, or I would do this and do that. And it made me also aware that I'm working so much because I still have the old program of scarcity mindset, that I think everything I have will be gone. And so because I'm operating out of a scarcity mindset, I'm constantly I'm surviving. I'm not thriving. So when I decided to shift my mindset from fear to love, where it's no, I'm going to operate from a place of abundance. So I'm not going to be scared about spending certain money. Something I don't do for myself that I should be better at is I want to spend money on myself, treat myself, because I treat other people, but I don't treat myself. And I think that comes from the program of what our parents teach us, which is, self-sacrifice, which is great. That's totally fine. But again, it's balance. There's a point where you need to also take care of yourself too, because who else is going to take care of you but you? And so something that has really helped me tremendously was drawing that T-chart and just being mindful and being aware about the decisions I was making every single day.
Thank you for your...
The next question is for Ivy Hoff and Tommy Ahmed. Sorry if I butchered your name. All right, so hello.
Hi.
This question's for the four of you. I'm in the middle of making a very big decision for my restaurant very soon, and recently approached by a couple investors. What are some things that I should consider to protect me, my business? What did you guys consider to protect you and your business for investors that you may have had? Just a very broad, generic question.
Right. I think Paul would be the best person to answer this question for you.
First off, if you own a restaurant, you are crazy. And congratulations. What kind of restaurant is it?
It's in Anaheim Hills. We just got number 6 in the nation by Yelp.
Wow. What is the name again?
It's called Sunless Cafe, and I actually look up to all of you, which is why I'm here, so thank you for having me. And I'm also Asian, so
Yeah.
Awesome.
Are you trying to grow through franchising or through your own stores, or?
So we've been approached, of course, like most people, about franchising. It is something I'm considering. I have had some meetings with a few people about it. I don't think that's the approach we should go just yet, but we will see.
I guess one piece of it's so broad, right? One thing that does come to mind is if you are raising capital with investors, don't try your best not to raise capital with investors where all they have is money. And if all they have is money, then it's okay, but just agree that they're passive. Amongst all of our Halal Guy stores, we have about 40 investors, all of which are pretty silent. And they trust us, and they allow us they pretty much stay out of our way so that we can operate at a high level. So you get in trouble when these investors start trying to tell you what to do, and you start having all these noises in your head, and now you just don't have a clear signal. Just be clear on if you really feel like you have the right vision, you need to defend it to the death, and just tell them that if you want to invest, you need to subscribe to my vision. if they have like some value, like they know connections or they have other investors or they come from food and they can get you to the next level, then just draw boundaries onto like, let me operate how I want to operate, but please give guidance. So it's more like boundaries and setting expectations. There's a ton more, but happy to chat with you, later if you want to chat more about it. But
I can get you a discount. His rate is not that cheap, but yeah, to piggyback to that too, he mostly mentioned all of the points. But yes, draw boundaries is one thing, but if you already have a successful model, I mean, being named, top 10 out of the whole entire country, you should be very proud of yourself. I think you should leverage at this point more debt than equity. So you don't want to let go of your stake in the company as much as that might be enticing, but you should leverage more banks, health, debt, or even friends and family right now at the moment would be much better than just let go part of your company and you start losing control of it. So I don't know if you have any advice for her.
you guys have dealt with investors too, and the same rules apply to you if you have any.
Yeah, I think, the other spectrum is if, you could take money from someone who knows how to set you up for success. So there's the silent one who's like, here's the money, I trust you, which is great if you know exactly what you want to do. But then the other spectrum is, actually, I need help, I don't know, expanding globally, or I don't know, I don't run restaurants, so I'm not going to like pretend I know, but how, like, there's money where people can actually help you scale faster and more meaningfully, and they have all the network to help you get out there. So just know that you hold the power. If you are like top 10, you hold the power. Like, remember your power. Remember that there's money everywhere too. Just because you're talking to a few investors doesn't mean that they are your only options. There's going to be other people out there that you should be open to. And just make sure that because you have built this for so long and you have such a strong branding, make sure that just you own that power and that don't be intimidated by their money. Because there's money elsewhere and there's other people who will probably want to invest in you just for you, not just to exploit what you've built. Not saying that they are, but there are sharks out there that will.
And within our own company, and Ivy can speak more about that too, and we actually do approach the equity route where we actually bring in strategic partner, which has been working out really great for us. And Ivy can kind of share a little bit about that too, with the construction group that we work with. We put her on the spot, but she has a story to tell. But
I mean, everyone is different,
everyone's different.
Yeah, I don't know her situation a lot to give much advice. I think Michelle and Paul cover a lot already. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, but that's the true meaning of it.
All that to say, this could actually be the best advice, or it could be the worst advice.
Exactly.
It requires so much more context. So I don't want to leave this here. If you want to chat further, like, we're happy to chat, because so much more details are needed. So
yes, there's a lot to it, to the deal.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Our next question is going to be for both.
Put her on the spot.
She'll kill you when you get home.
Michelle, Ivy, first off, thank you so much for taking the time today to be here to talk to us. The question I have is, I struggle with this from time to time. Have you ever felt the imposter syndrome? And if you do, how do you navigate it?
Man, that is a loaded question.
It is.
Yeah, like I guess like sometimes imposter syndrome can be a great defense mechanism for your own insecurities. It's like the whole fake it till you make it. So you feel really insecure inside, but on the outside you really fake it, and it kind of boosts you in that sense. But I think this is why personal development is so important. Like working on yourself, taking time to really understand your own true desires. Like, are these desires yours? Like, do you actually want to do this, or has this been what's the word I'm looking for? Or others whispering in your ear, and they're telling you you should do this or do that. So I think something that I learned on my journey too, the whole imposter syndrome, was even like being a businesswoman. You know, I was just a YouTuber, but then I felt like, no, I want to do business. But like I mentioned, I never went to business school or anything like that. And so I projected my vision, I projected my ideas. And I think because I showed that, hey, look at this YouTube channel. I'm generating this amount of income. I have this much influence. I have this idea. And so when people started believing me, it's like, oh man, now I need to deliver. You know, now I need to actually start learning. And so sometimes imposter syndrome isn't so bad. It can inspire you to develop this like a set of tools that can actually help you in your career. But I think at the end of the day, like, just the fact that you're even aware about it is already massive. I think there's a lot of people I've met in the business space, and I'm sure you've met them too, where they're just very delusional and they're not even aware. They're not even aware. So just the fact that you're even asking yourself this question, you have to give yourself a pat on the back that you are aware of this, and to invest more time to develop yourself personally. I think that's like the best advice, but again, like it's so personal, like the whole imposter syndrome thing. And a lot of it does have, this is just based on what I learned from like people who are neuroscientists and who've been helping me also with my brain is there's a lot of trauma that we have adopted from like genetics, our family. And so a lot of the trauma can spawn defense mechanisms where you feel like you have to be someone. And so like taking time to start sorting out the traumas and making peace with it can really help give you more clarity so that you can overcome whatever it is, whether it's like ego, imposter syndrome. I think like being more at peace with yourself and overcoming these fears will get you to a clear state of consciousness where that's where you feel more like yourself. You can make the best decisions and not be so, you don't feel that insecurity anymore because you are secure. Does this make sense what I'm trying to say? And please like piggyback off of me on this because
I think that kind of covers. But that's a loaded question. It is just different layers to it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
The next question is from Nikki Chan for both Ivy and Michelle.
Hi, so my question for both of you is, how do you see yourself as a woman boss? What traits do you think every good boss should have?
So the question is, what characteristics, right? As a female boss, or is just?
So how do you see yourself as a woman boss? And what are some good traits that you think that every boss should have?
I'd say the biggest one is compassion. That's something that a lot of people that I've met in the business space, they lacked. Because we were told, oh, it's, you know, you need to be more logical, you have to be, and it never resonated with me because I think, because I didn't grow up in that world, I grew up in the opposite spectrum where I was a creator, I'm an artist, I'm a human. And so I connect with people more on a human level. I have more empathy and more compassion. And I believe that emotional intelligence is very underappreciated. And we really need more of that in this world, especially with now AI is coming. AI is going to be doing a lot of the logical thinking for us. It's going to help us a lot on that side. And so where we can develop more in, as a species, in my opinion, is emotional empathy, emotional intelligence. And so I think compassion is something that I try my best to, really live and adopt and foster in my work environment.
Yeah. Apart from that, I think persistent, stay committed to your goals. And also she mentioned emotional intelligence. I want to mention EQ. Most leaders have high EQ. They understand their staff. They see things from different perspective. I think it's very helpful to really look into that too.
So persistent in love.
And one more I want to add is intuition. Like tapping into that more. I think I've always been a believer that intuition first, then data. Because so many people I know in my space, they're so data driven. But it's like data doesn't necessarily predict what's going to happen. I'm a believer that it's intuition. It's that special essence that is still magical in a way where we can tap into. Where that's where people are able to receive those downloads. They're able to, like even me, when I went on YouTube, my intuition told me this is the TV of the future, is YouTube. This was back in like 2006, when TV was still like as mainstream as possible. It was intuition that told me look more into Bitcoin. It was intuition that told me to look into these avenues, not data. So tap more into intuition, like listen to your inner voice, because your inner voice is more wise than you think.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Good. Great insights.
I think we have time for one last question, so feel free, Usher.
The last question is from Tina Lam for both Michelle and I.
So the question I have is, are you both hiring?
Yes.
It's funny that you're asking that, but I'm actually in this mode right now of looking for companies to acquire. So looking for strategic companies in the realm of creator economy, creator space, also maybe in crypto and blockchain. I don't want to give too much details out, but I am looking for strategic partnerships and companies to roll up for a bigger idea. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Just think about it. I'll be here. My team is here if you have anything to pitch. But I am looking to bring together a pool of talent to build something bigger, like this vision that I've always had for this space. Because I've been a believer in the creator economy before the term was even invented. And something that I've seen in this space is that everyone, when they talk about creator economy, they just think about the top 10%, which are the famous people, but no one is really helping develop for the middle class, which I believe we need more of. And I do believe we are entering more into a future where information will be decentralized. Like even like we see big powers like the big news outlets, they're losing relevance to the citizen journalists, the YouTubers, the Joe Rogans, even like Twitter accounts that have earned the trust of their followers. And so I'm really interested in fostering that network of people because I believe they're going to be the movers and shakers of the future.
Yeah. Are you hiring?
We're always hiring. What position are you looking for?
Very specific. What are you looking for?
Okay, you can email a resume to hr@keyconcepts.info.
Always gonna have to slide in that, brand. So thanks so much, guys, for coming in today. I know me and Paul, we had a great time. This is the very first event, but as you can see, the turnout is great. And what makes us really happy today is not just the next generation, but the current generation, but also the past generation. My dad is in the audience. And we have people like my great friend, Howard is in the audience. He used to be on, the board of Cheesecake Factory. He's here today. And so we have great minds. Andy Wynn's here today. David is here today. There's so many great people here today. I cannot mention enough names. But this is what the new Little Saigon will be. And this is our vision. I had this vision 20-something plus years ago when I first came here. And I really hope that one of you will become the next speaker. Join us on stage. Share your experiences. Share your knowledge. All of us can use a lot of it. And know this for a fact, like Ivy and Michelle did mention, compassion, trust. These are the things that we can come together. We are together, stronger than ever. And I hope that we all can see this whole thing is going to blow out. And everyone's going to start coming here and enjoying these event talks. If they have TED Talk, we're going to have these events. And we created this specific line of product for this single vision. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Very gracefully accepted our invitation, Michelle, and Ivy, and Paul. So last few words to kind of close out the event. So,
remember I mentioned how I wanted to expand further on something I was mentioning earlier about how, and this was the conversation I had between my Vietnamese friends, but have you noticed a lot of Vietnamese people, they like to compete with each other, right? And it's why do we compete? We're literally so much stronger together like Avengers, I've had time to think about it. I think oftentimes the reason why we do compete is because of the scarcity mindset that was installed into our brains because of our parents who came from the war. And from the war, like everyone was an enemy, even their neighbors were an enemy. So there was no trust. And I feel like that trauma was so long ago, we need to make peace with it, honor it, make peace with it, lovingly let it go so that we can become better versions of ourselves so that we can help each other. Because I believe there's so much potential within the Vietnamese community and also with what's happening in Vietnam. Like last year, Vietnam's GDP was positive. I think it was like 9%.
Yes, it's also one of the fastest growing country in the world.
It's one of the fastest developing countries. It's also the country that's adopting crypto, Bitcoin. So there's a lot of potential there. And I found this out from the head of YouTube. They were telling me that the country that watches the most YouTube is Vietnam. I thought it was America, but it's Vietnam.
Yes.
So there's a lot of potential for our community to help each other rather than tearing each other down. And just something I wanted to put out there because I feel like on my journey too, there were like some people within our peers, our community that were not the nicest to me, that were spreading rumors or trying to pull me down. And it made me sad because it's like, damn, like, I don't think you see like the potential in what it could be if we were to help each other out. And I think there is a lot of people who have insecurities, and that's okay, like we all have them. Unfortunately, a lot of them projected onto others. So this is why like it's so important to just become more aware about these insecurities, becoming aware about these programs that no longer serve us, lovingly uninstalling them and building a community and actually genuinely helping each other out, not doing it because you are, you're like climbing that ladder, because eventually in this space, the world is small, the community is small, and when people find out that you threw someone under the bus, people start talking. So it's really important to be mindful of the energy you put out because you're responsible for that. And it starts forming a reputation about yourself. So just, little food for thought that I had that I wanted to sprinkle in there.
And that's a takeaway. And so thanks so much for your words. And this is what we need. And again, like you said, access, right? Without knowing, one of our friends here to connect us with you, there would never be an event like this. So
Collaboration.
To collaborations.
Yep.
Yeah, that kind of stronger together, guys. We are stronger together.
Any last words you want to say?
Last few words.
Well, do you guys like the event?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to say thank you to Kei Concept event team. It took them 2 months to prepare 2 hours event. I appreciate you guys. Proud of you guys. Vivian. That's my wrap up. Just want to say thank you to the team and everyone who come here today.
Yeah, thanks everyone for putting it together. They know that this is not yielding anything. Obviously, we're not making anything out of these kind of events, but seeing every one of you really enjoying the event, be here today is very heartwarming. And seeing that, Vietnamese community can count on you guys to break this mold, to break this cycles of, vicious cycle of like just competing. We're not. We're here to really help each and every one of us success.
Cool. All right, no, let's end it.
No, but I want Paul to say something, because I know, by the way, we actually gonna have the next event, same place. Paul's also gonna be the moderator, and the next guest that we have is gonna be a few guests that we're talking about food industry, beauty industry in general, but also Web3 and crypto. That's gonna be our next event.
Cool.
So, you wanna?
No, I hope that you guys got a lot of value. I was just sitting here just super inspired. I just learned more about, I've known you for a while, but I learned more about you every single time we chat, and it was such an honor to meet you as well. You've been instrumental in so many content creators after you, so that's no small task. And you're talking about how like you had to educate people on why influencers actually have value. Like, you made it so easy for everyone now. I can imagine how you actually had to go in there try to explain how people who are like not from the industry or not famous, why they could actually have more power than the big guys. So I just wanted to credit both of you for all the hard work that you did going uphill. So thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so these are two our female leaders. They have led us this far. The next journey is up to you. Thank you. Thank you so much.